Good morning. U.S. Undersecretary of State Wendy Sherman arrives in Seoul for talks with Seoul's Vice Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yong this morning on North Korea policy. The Jordanian government asked the Islamic State for evidence that the Jordanian hostage is alive before the swap. The militant group has yet to respond. Meet Korean-American author Suki Kim. She'll be sharing her experience in North Korea teaching the regime's elite university students. There's more than skiing, boarding, and skating in winter. If you want to take a bit of a challenge and be more adventurous, we have some options for you on Korea Today, Thursday, January 29th, 2015.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And a good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome to Korea Today. I'm Kim Min-jung with Jin-ju and Im Yoon-hee sitting in for Kim Young. It's been a long week without Young.
Right,
it felt like
a little bit quiet.
That's right.
And we said I'm back.
But the weekend is just around the corner.
Already. You know, I think I start planning my weekend starting Mondays. Right? So,
right, and lots to do this weekend.
Well, I already planned, so I have a gallery to look at later on. But Malay, are you a fan of the artist?
I am.
Are you?
Right.
Well, I have a look at some of his works later on.
Oh, right. And if you want to enjoy some outdoor activities, you might want to head out to Gangwon-do Province and take a bit of a challenge there, as our Joey Mercadante will give you some more options of winter sports.
Ice diving especially.
Right.
Oh, this is going to be bone chilling. It's just going to be painful to watch.
I can never
right?
imagine myself doing ice diving.
All right, we'll look forward to that later on in the show. But first, let's get a check on our top stories. A senior U.S. official is now in Korea to discuss a host of bilateral, regional, and global issues with South Korean counterparts, including Seoul's current standoff with Pyongyang. Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs Wendy Sherman, who arrived in Korea on Wednesday, is set to meet with Seoul's first Vice Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yong on Thursday, where they are expected to fine-tune their positions on North Korea in light of Washington's toughened sanctions and the pending dialogue between the two Koreas. The fourth-ranking official in the U.S. State Department will then travel to Tokyo for further discussion. Later on this Thursday, U.S. Undersecretary for Arms Control and International Security Rose Gottemiller is set to arrive in Seoul to discuss a nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation before flying to Beijing for the U.S.-China security dialogue.
North Korea appears to have demanded 500,000 tons of rice in exchange for an inter-Korean summit and an apology for the torpedoing of South Korean warship Cheonan in 2010. Seoul-based Yonhap News reported the undisclosed story from the previous administration will be included in the memoir of former President Lee Myung-bak, which is set to be released next month. Former President Lee recalls that South Korea's senior intelligence officials visited the North in July 2010 at the request of Pyongyang following the sinking of Cheonan in March that year. During the meeting, Seoul made it clear that the North must first apologize for the Cheonan sinking and take steps to prevent such an incident from happening again if it wants an inter-Korean summit to take place. The former president explains that there were secret talks between the two sides for summit talks since 2009, but the meeting never took place, with Pyongyang demanding massive economic aid.
Korean chipmaker SK hynix has reported record-high earnings for the year 2014, with its net profit jumping by nearly 50%. The country's number 2 chipmaker said Wednesday its revenue last year hit an all-time high at over 17 trillion won. That's roughly $15.6 billion US, with its net profit for the same period posting nearly $3.9 billion. The company says its enhanced profitability and cost competitiveness, coupled with stable market conditions, have helped in the company's second-year record-breaking performance. SK hynix added 2015 will see an increase in demand for its dynamic random access memory, or DRAMs, and NAND flash memory division.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, we do have quite a variety of stories this morning on the local papers. Let's go ahead and begin with a look at 중앙일보, though. This is about that interesting article regarding former President Lee Myung-bak's presidential memoir that you just heard about in the headlines. Now, the header says Kim Jong-il had proposed inter-Korean summit over 5 times. So the former President Lee Myung-bak revealed some behind-the-scenes stories in his memoir called The President's Time, in which he revealed that former North Korean leader Kim Jong-il had proposed to the South Korean side via Chinese authorities, asking for the realization of an inter-Korean summit at least 5 times. However, the proposals were all rejected because they held exorbitant preconditions in some form of economic support, as you did here. If we take a look at some more details, for instance, in 2009, during the ASEAN Plus 3 summit, the North had requested 50,000 tons of food on top of $10 billion in return for the holding of a bilateral summit. So plans for potential talks fell through once again. Now, in this regard, the former president stresses that the opposition party's criticism over the government's lack of efforts in seeking resources diplomacy with the North is mistaken, because simply pushing for such diplomatic methods carry big risks of failure, requiring large-scale investments from the South Korean side. Now, shifting gears to a local issue on to 동아일보. This is about school buses carrying children, and the title says, Saerim's law transforms commuting landscape. Now, this law is dubbed after a girl named Kim Se-rim, who died due to a school bus accident at the age of 3 in March of 2013. Now, ever since the incident took place, the Daily had frequently pushed for the lawmaking of a bill reinforcing the safety and protection of children during their commute via continual reports on the matter, which got the bill to be tabled and passed in the end. Finally, if we go ahead and look at some of the core factors of this law, they include, number 1, making it compulsory to register school buses as children's commuting vehicles. 2, only starting to drive after children have put on their seatbelts. 3, reinforcing the training education programs of drivers and operators of the buses. And finally, mandatorily having guardians ride together with the younger toddlers. Now, moving on to 조선일보, we'll go ahead from children to a look at the elderly here. The title reads, Worrisome Senior Years. Elderly supports elderly in 150,000 households. The paper says that the number of households with those beyond their 60s taking care of their parents in their 80s and 90s even has drastically increased in recent years. As you can see here, the number has reached up to an estimated amount of 150,000 homes throughout the country. Now, this signifies the alarming reality that the elderly are facing in society, as most in their 60s say they are physically too exhausted themselves to be tending to their elderly parents, not to mention lacking the capacity to financially support them. Finally, we'll take a look at the Korea Economic Daily for a wrap regarding a business project for Yeongjong-do Island, and the header says military's magnanimous decision to save a resort on Yeongjong-do Island. Looking at these sub-headlines here, a mega casino resort construction project on Yeongjong-do Island located in Incheon was at the verge of falling through because of residents and restraints and regulations on high-rise buildings nearby a missile base. However, due to the Defense Ministry's swift decision to transfer the missile base to another location, the mega project to help vitalize the local tourism and services industry has been able to come back to light. And this project is an enormous business endeavor that will attract $9 billion of foreign capital. Now, that was a look at our local headlines this Thursday. Now, following are the stock numbers from Wednesday.
In 2011, a Korean-American writer goes undercover to teach English at a private elite university in North Korea. And after 6 months of covertly gathering information, Suki Kim returns to the U.S. and now she's written a memoir about her experience. It's called Without You, There Is No Us. And she joins us right here in the studio. Good morning to you. This story has fascinated a lot of people, so much so that it's actually one of the best-selling books by the New York Times. Now, I want to know, how did you come across this job of teaching English at a private school in North Korea?
I've been covering North Korea. I'm a novelist in the States, and I've been covering North Korea since 2002. So I went in to write about it, write feature essays, and I did it for New York Review of Books. I did it for Harper's. Pyongyang, the Philharmonic in Pyongyang, I also covered. But I realized that unless I was embedded there, that I couldn't really write a meaningful portrait and unfiltered coverage. So when I found out that there was this school being set up in Pyongyang, all staffed with foreigners, I applied. It was an all-male university.
What was the purpose of this project? What did you want to tell the world?
I think because personally I come from separated families, so it was an issue that I was born into, that I was obsessed with in a way. And then once I began going to North Korea, I realized that there just is no real unfiltered, real truth about the place. So I wanted to humanize North Korea, that it goes beyond the archetypes of nuclear threat or Kim Jong-un jokes, So I guess that I really did want to tell the real story from the inside.
And you write in your book that you're really surprised to see how many of these students are completely in the dark. They don't know much about what's going on around the world outside their country. But what we see in news reports about young North Koreans connecting, watching Korean dramas and movies. So how do you make sense of that discrepancy?
I think there are just different facets of North Korea. Some also are, closer to the border region, for example. I think some are the information that's accessed by whatever agencies, aid agencies there might be. The reality I saw when I actually lived with them was, because I lived, 6 months with these future leaders of North Korea, none of us were allowed out. So it was very close living. And through that, you just get these questions. For example, they'll ask you things like, so how many movies can you watch on the internet? These small questions that really, you realize they have no idea what it is. So it wasn't so much what they of course do tell you all this propaganda stuff, like, our great leader stuff, and how they don't know anything about the rest of the world. It wasn't really from those obvious statements they make. It's more escaping in little daily circumstances when you do realize that, they are never allowed to go anywhere. And they do really remain clueless how the rest of the world functions.
It's so interesting because North Korea views the U.S. as an enemy state, and you're from the U.S., you're an American teacher teaching English to the students. Did they have a sense of animosity towards you, or how were you able to get the students to look beyond that?
It was kind of a double paradox because they always sang these songs. I mean, the English title, Without You, There Is No Us, is really from a song they sang almost every day, marching to the cafeteria. And all that is that, without you, the great leader, there is no us. There are a lot of songs like that they sing all the time about how they want to kill Americans. And one of them was called Single Breath. So I asked them, because I heard that in Korean, I said, so this means single breath? And they said, no, actually, it means that once a war were to break out, we will kill all Americans and South Koreans in a single breath. So then I said, what about me? Because I'm American and I'm South Korean. And they just started giggling and said, oh, you're different, you're our teacher. So I think there is sort of this government propaganda, and then there's like a personal feeling, and almost like they coexist, but they're also separate.
Right, and you've obviously bonded with these students, and you've said in another interview that you call them lovely. These students were lovely. And so do you think by telling their story and telling your story, do you think this is in their best interest?
I think so. Ultimately, in a minor level, their safety was always the biggest concern. So every identifying details have all been blurred and changed. Moreover, basically in the whole book, they are loyal to their regime. So there wasn't that kind of a concern, really. I protected them through writing the book. But ultimately, I think the most we can do is to, humanize North Koreans, meaning that they become real people to the rest of the world. I come from New York, where just now the movie, The Interview, came to the public, and I couldn't believe when I watched it that, I had to watch it for work, and I couldn't believe that, this cartoon aspect of, I just don't think you can make fun of a country like that with that kind of humor.
So you think this was done in poor taste?
Well, it's more that if you really did think of them as human suffering, that would you have really, it's not even an assassination, it's really a cartoon blowing up kind of a scene when Kim Jong-un dies in the movie. The whole thing is such a joke. Comedy is fine, but this is beyond that. I really think that if we had more humanized portraits of North Korea, then we wouldn't have this kind of perception in the rest of the world, where Kim Jong-un jokes are so natural. I don't find anything funny about North Korea. I guess I don't have much sense of humor when it comes to that topic. So I thought what was most I could do as a writer was to bring out a real in-depth portrait.
Now, what kind of reviews, just quickly, have you been getting, and what are your future plans from this point onwards?
The book had, the book had really received amazing response in the States. It's just come out in Korea, and I'm about to go to UK for the publication there. I think that generally the reader response has been mostly that it's finally feel like real people. A lot of people actually say they wept reading it, and they say, like, I never kind of thought of them as, most of all that these are young men and they're just lovely, which is what I felt. They're young people, like any of the people here or in America or in Seoul or anywhere. And I think that is the reader response, which I'm grateful for that, because I think once you do see them as you and me, then maybe they'll do something, or the world will do something to change that place.
All right, and you're going to the UK to promote your book, so good luck to you with that. And thank you for coming in today and talking to us.
Thank you.
And still to come on Korea Today, learn what's hot this season in jewelry. According to Korea Style Week, the keyword in jewelry for 2015 is custom made. Layer unique original designs, gemstones, and vintage settings reminiscent of the retro styles of the 1970s. Check out what's hot in jewelry on K-Style.
And we'll be trying on a ton of jewelry later on in the show, so that's exciting. All right, well, time now to get a check on the weather.
Let's toss things over to our Jeon Sung-cho, who's standing by at Yangjacheon Stream today. Good morning, Sung-cho.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. The cold snap that's been around for a couple of days is slowly giving way to warmer weather. Temperatures right now here in Seoul are slightly warmer than yesterday at -4 degrees Celsius. It feels like -8 though, with the wind chill, and cold wave advisories remain in effect in the mountainous parts of Gangwon-do Province. So if you're all the way up at Daegwallyeong Pass, you better brace yourself up for frigid conditions this morning, where mercury levels have dipped to as low as -15 degrees. And compared to all the other regions, it's quite a different scene over in the eastern Gangwon-do Province, where it's still completely buried under a white blanket of snow. Snowy weather will be back today, but down south this time, it's going to start as a mix of sleet and rain this morning in the coastal Jeollanam-do Province and turn into snow as it stretches across the entire southern regions, piling up to 8 centimeters in some places until next morning. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings around the nation. Daytime highs are slightly warmer than yesterday, ranging from 3 to 8 degrees Celsius, with Seoul being the coldest and Jeju being the warmest. Today afternoon, there may be some parts in the greater Seoul area that are affected by light haze, so watch out for that. This is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to the studio, Minjang.
So far, no sealed deal, but there is an offer on the table. Jordan says it's willing to trade the failed suicide bomber on its death row for the release of a young Jordanian pilot now in the custody of the Islamic State group. We'll check in with our Suki KIM, who's at the news center following the developments. Good morning to you, Eunice.
Good morning.
So it has to be said in this latest IS video that you told us about yesterday, and let me get this straight, there is no mention of releasing the Jordanian hostage.
That's right, on the IS side, and Jordanian officials did recognize that this is a new offer they are putting on the table. The IS offer was Kenji Goto for the Iraqi would-be suicide bomber. You'll remember the voice in the latest video, purportedly belonging to the war journalist, had said "me for her," and that "her" referring to Sajida al-Rishawi, the woman jailed for over a decade in Jordan for her role in a string of terror attacks on hotels in Amman that ultimately killed 60 people in 2005. Now, what this confirms, however, is that Jordanian officials are talking to the militants, albeit indirectly, and could lead to a new stance against his previous policy of not negotiating with extremists. Jordan's foreign minister did recently tweet that his government has yet to receive proof of the health and safety of the young pilot as requested earlier. This as before that, state TV had quoted a government spokesman, Mohammed al-Momami, as saying Jordan was willing to make that prisoner swap, though he had made no mention of the Japanese hostage, Kenji Goto. He had also said it was always Jordan's priority to secure the release of pilot Moaz al-Kasasbeh, who comes from a prominent family in a high-ranking Jordanian tribe important to the country's monarchy, and his family has also been very vocal in calling for the son's release. He was captured in northern Syria in December when his F-16 fell from the sky. And staying in the region, cross-border violence along Lebanon has left 2 Israeli soldiers and 1 Spanish UN peacekeeper killed. Hezbollah anti-tank missiles flew across an area where the borders of Lebanon, Israel and Syria meet, hitting Israeli military vehicles. Israeli forces responded with gunfire into southern Lebanon. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has promised the attackers would pay the full price, as a UN spokesman urged maximum restraint. Hezbollah said the strike was retaliation for an Israeli airstrike over the Syrian Golan Heights 10 days ago that had killed 6 of its fighters. Turning to some business news now, the U.S. Central Bank signaled it was on track to raise its benchmark interest rates later this year from its current rate of near zero, citing a U.S. economy that was expanding at, quote, a solid pace. The assessment came after a 2-day meeting of U.S. policymakers on Wednesday, and without dwelling on the weakening global economy, the Federal Reserve said domestic labor market conditions in its strong job gains and lower unemployment rate had improved, while declines in energy costs had boosted household purchasing power. It did say, though, that it would consider global events when it decides on a rate hike, which at this point is estimated to come as early as June.
And picking right off of that story, a big linchpin to that global economic climate is Greece right now. And the new leader of Greece has come out and said that it won't default on its deep debts.
Yeah, that's right. The new prime minister, of course, is Alexis Tsipras, and he is now leading the anti-austerity government with his political party Syriza's big win in Sunday's general elections. And he said that his country will not get into a mutually destructive clash by defaulting in on the country's debts. Now, there, of course, has been very vocal calls from Europe at large amid concerns with the start of this left left-leaning government. In his first cabinet meeting since his party's win, Prime Minister Tsipras said his government would renegotiate its $270 billion bailout. Now, in a news conference on Wednesday, new finance minister Yanis Varoufakis announced he would be meeting with Eurogroup's chief this week and also hold meetings with the finance ministers of Italy and France. This as ratings agency Standard & Poor's said it is putting Greece on watch for a potential downgrade. So certainly a lot of eyes, Minjung, on Greece still.
Certainly. Thank you so much, Eunice, for that.
You bet.
And stay with us on Korea Today, especially if you fancy the idea of diving into icy water. We are going to do exactly that. Well, not us, but Joey Mercadante will take a look at what ice diving is all about, and also ski mountaineering if you are a fan of that idea. All of these are waiting for us on Korea Discovered.
The Barbizon School in France is known for breaking the traditional ideology of nature and landscapes and depicting a more realistic image of our natural surroundings. Now, this school was led by artist Jean-François Millet, who represents the realism art movement in the 1850s, and his original works are now here in Seoul. And for more, our Im Yini joins us. Good morning.
Good morning. Right. So Millet he revolutionized art. So he really focused on the details of nature, of landscapes, and of people who were previously unseen in the forefront of art. Now, he influenced many artists after him, some of who went on to become the most important artists to our time. Take a look.
Life in the beautiful countryside. Women doing laundry by the stream, and men harvesting the fields. These are the landscapes of Fontainebleau, the French countryside that inspired many artists from the 19th century. Artists such as the legendary Theodore Rousseau. And of course, Claude Monet. They all found inspiration from the rustic countryside. And even Vincent van Gogh found admiration for not just the lands of Fontainebleau, but also the artist who was at the center of it all, Jean-François Millet.
Millet is a French painter from Normandy who lived from 1814 to 1875. He is known for leading the Barbizon School, which was a forefront of the realism art movement at a time when artists began focusing on beautiful landscapes, peasants, and farmers instead of dramatic religious scenes and wealthy people. You could even say he's one of the fathers of the modernism art movement.
To celebrate the 200th year of Millet's birth, the Museum of Fine Arts Boston put together an extensive collection of over 60 different original works that tell the story of the Barbizon School and its contributions to the birth of modernism. Included in the exhibition are 4 of Millet's major paintings. Paintings that not only influenced many future artists, but also played a key role in ushering in different art movements, such as the Harvester's Resting painting, one of his most famous works that Millet poured his life into completing.
Millet considers this his most important painting and practiced on over 50 different drafts before making the final product. He played around with positioning of the figures and calculated everything. The subtitle says Ruth de Boaz, and it tells the story of this woman named Ruth and the man next to her named Boaz. The woman was recently widowed, but she works very hard in the fields with her mother-in-law to keep them alive. Boaz sees how hard she's working and falls in love with her, and they end up marrying. Millet retells the biblical story of redemption and hard work through a contemporary scene.
There are many places, many people, many faces that contributed to the development of art. But there are a few artists, legends in the field, who have made their mark and will forever be recognized. Artists such as Jean-François Millet.
looking at all his original works is already making me excited. And you mentioned that his works were put together by the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston.
Exactly. So this museum actually has a very close tie to Millet. It dates back all the way to the 1850s. Now they process the most of Millet's works and have the largest collection of original works by Millet. So quite, a very important museum. And the four of the works that they are showing of Millet are some of their most prized works. So really an exhibition to go check out.
And it was interesting to see that how Van Gogh was inspired by the works of Millet.
Right. So you saw a little bit in the report, Van Gogh was very much inspired by Millet as an artist. In fact, in many letters that Van Gogh wrote to his brother, he mentions Millet and Millet's very unique style that Van Gogh was very inspired by. And so they actually have an exhibition where you can read some of these letters of Van Gogh that takes place at the War Memorial here in Korea that goes on through early February. But really, the impact of Millet, not just on Van Gogh, but so many other artists you can see throughout time, throughout art history, a very important artist.
Knowing that there are some similarities between the works between the two.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Uni, for that report this morning.
You're very welcome.
And a good Thursday morning to you all as we kick things off with the ongoing scandal over Park Tae-hwan and his testosterone shot, or I should say shots, as in multiple injections. That's right, more reports coming out on Tuesday afternoon as the Olympic swimmer allegedly visited an anti-aging clinic to receive the Nabido shots, which is a renowned testosterone injection. But it wasn't just once, as reports indicate that it was at least 10 times that he visited the clinic without ever telling his management team. Now, all signs point to a possible ban from the sport for at least 4 years, as he's set to face a hearing with FINA on February 27th in Lausanne, Switzerland. Now, the 2014 LPGA season was quite an exciting season, especially for all the Korean golfers in the tour. But with the 2015 season teeing off today, it's even more excitement as the season kicked off with the 2015 LPGA Coach Championship. With Park In-mi starting off the new season still as the top-ranked golfer, expectations remain high as they hope to see her accomplish a career Grand Slam this season. But the media has their eyes on teenage sensation Lydia Ko, who many expect to take over Park's spot at the top of the ranking. And as for rookie Chang Hana, she's off to a great start, currently tied for first at 5 under par after the first round. Now, for the longest time, Cha Duri, aka Chaminator, was considered one of the most entertaining footballer in Korea, but unfortunately, he's one match away from retiring from the national team. Well, that is unless the fans can do something about it. Now, thanks to the clean-shaven defender's incredible contribution to the Asian Cup team this month, fans do not want to see him say goodbye, as a petition titled "We Still Need You, Cha Duri" was started. So far, there's been over 1,200 signatures of fans who want to see him continue playing for the national team after the big match on Saturday. But despite all that, the Chaminator has made it clear that he will keep his word and hopefully retire with Korea's first Asian Cup title in 55 years. Now, the Nexon Heroes lost a big bat in Kang Jong-ho after he signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates earlier this month, but they did get a nice $5,000,2015 check. But it looks like they might lose another big bat, this time in Park Byung-ho. Now, according to a report that surfaced on Tuesday, the two-time KBO MVP has signed with Octagon, the same sports management company that represents Kang Jong-ho. The 29-year-old slugger, who has expressed his desire to go over to the majors, will be eligible to be posted after November 1st, as a number of Major League scouts are expected to visit his games this season. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Now, there is quite a lot of leisure or sports activities to enjoy in winter, but you might not have thought about trying out this option.
Right, this is taking it to the next level.
Right, into the ice, into the icy water. And our Joey Mercadante went out to Gangwon-do for this experience.
Good morning, Joey.
I did. Good morning. I have some next level leisure sports to show you. Now, they're literally next level because you need beyond beginner level skills to take part in these. And they were a lot of fun, and they will give you chills in more ways than one, I promise you that. So let's take a look at some extreme sports in Korea. The #1 go-to region when it comes to winter fun trips in Korea? Gangwon-do Province. Thanks to the Taebaeksan mountain range that cuts across the province, its mountainous terrain provides a cool getaway in summer and a snow-covered wonderland in the winter. As temperatures drop, cold weather sports enthusiasts flock to places in Gangwon-do such as this one, Hongcheon County, and the pristine grade A waters of Hongcheongang River. It was pretty chilly at the river, but sub-zero numbers weren't enough to keep visitors away. They were ready to face the cold head-on. Ice diving event.
춥지 않아요? 티셔츠 입었어요.
예, 이 추위를 느끼려고 오는 사람들이 많은 것 같아요.
He's warm. I'm cold. Let's go find out exactly what's so amazing about this ice diving.
Hongcheongang runs deep for a river, and come January through February, a solid layer of ice forms on the surface. Perfect conditions for ice divers.
Can you just explain to me what you're doing right now?
We set up the equipment for diving.
Okay.
For the ice diving. Yeah.
And you got all your instructions I saw before. You guys
Yeah, we have a
communicated?
safety brief, like a team brief. Who's supposed to be the first, who is the team captain, all sort of stuff, and a lifeline signal because we are diving with the line.
You have this ice ceiling about you, so when you exhale, the air bubbles cover the surface like a big mirror. It's a beautiful sight. Someone told me this once. After his experience ice diving, he's been spending more time looking up at the sky.
In order to get the ice diving event started, obviously the first step was to cut through the ice to make a hole for the divers. Organizers brought out the heavy-duty saws to cut through the surface layer, usually more than 44 centimeters thick.
Look at that piece of ice.
Yeah, it took a group of men and myself to pull away the 1-ton chunk of ice.
1 ton. Okay, you ready to go into cold water?
Whoa. I can't believe how thick this is.
Making the hole, setting up safety equipment, ice diving took a lot of prep. Now, as the saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. Now, I'm talking about the cold, of course, and that's exactly what this group did without hesitation.
This is not you filming, is it?
No. Sub-zero temperatures were quickly forgotten once the divers slipped underwater. The river was alive with creatures that went about doing their own thing as divers swam around them, and I wish I could have gone in there with them.
So beginners are not allowed in, obviously.
That's correct. You need some certification to do that.
It's like being in a whole different world. I felt like I was swimming through space. It's a fantasy world down there.
Whether it's underwater, scaling the side of an icy mountain cliff, or gliding across snow on skis, there are tons of winter leisure sports to choose from in the area and across all of Gangwon-do Province. For example, our next stop was Gangwon-do's Pyongyang County, a proud venue of the upcoming 2018 Winter Olympics. We were going to experience another lesser-known leisure sport at 700 meters above sea level. At Taegwalyong Mountain Pass, a Korean outdoor sports brand runs a ski school that specializes in ski touring or ski mountaineering.
이 바인딩은 이렇게 뒤꿈치가 떨어져요.
Now this gear is a bit different for ski mountaineering, which is a combination of skiing and mountain climbing. The binding has a free heel and there's a detachable skin covering the bottom of the skis, and it's for traction.
Ski mountaineering is like a sport that's between regular alpine skiing and Nordic skiing, or what many people call cross-country skiing. So you climb up mountains, but you also ride downhill as well.
You get the fun and thrill of downhill skiing plus the enjoyment of mountaineering. It's a great activity.
And so we began our trek upwards on our touring skis, a line of ski mountaineers making our own way through through the snow.
It's fun.
That gives you a good workout. It's like a great workout.
I wish we would just go downhill. Downhill. So much easier.
Waiting for the downhill.
모든 산에서 극경사를 이렇게 올라가지 않아요. 이렇게 지그재그로 올라가요.
Learning to climb up sharp slopes is probably the hardest thing to get used to for an alpine skier. Even with the instructor's guidance, first-timers slip and slide clumsily at the incline.
You already look exhausted.
I was. It was exhausting. I mean, but soon it would all be worth it, and you'll see what I mean.
I just took off the climbing skin because I've reached the top of this hill, and it's time to change to downhill mode. So all I gotta do is pack these away, and then I'm ready to ski.
That's for traction.
Feel right off.
So everyone flew down the mountainside, and because it was unpacked, fresh snow, a lot of us tumbled. But it's surprisingly less painful than you think.
Unlike regular skis, these are really light. It's a completely different feeling, so I had a lot of trouble.
Climbing up was really difficult, but skiing down is quite fun. It's great because it doesn't even hurt when you fall.
Okay, it's my turn to take a run down the slope. And it was exhilarating, but, well, the powdery snowdrifts got me through.
They just had to make it in slow motion.
Yep.
Help me, please. This is really difficult, but a lot of fun. The reward is so much more sweet when you struggle in the beginning. And I made it down the hill this time without falling until right now, and it was really, really fun.
I blame my tumbles on all the ski mountaineering I did uphill, but you know, we were getting the hang of it, even maneuvering through the tree lines.
Unlike the ski regional slope, this is all natural snow, so it's very soft and it feels great to ski through. This was an unforgettable experience.
It's an exciting sport that lets you ski and mountaineer at the same time. There's definitely a thrill factor to it too. I would definitely recommend this to others.
Come and enjoy the winter activities available here in Korea. These are not just any old winter activities. These extreme and unique winter adventures are waiting for you, and you should come and try and check it out. They are experiences of a lifetime.
Wow, right? Really amazing.
Right, so with ski touring, this ice diving, this is definitely not something for the faint-hearted, for the rather adventurous, right? Any adventurous people here?
That's true. Did it appeal to you
Not
guys?
me, for sure.
I wouldn't be able to try it out.
Well, Joey, I know you've done downhill skiing. How does that compare to this mountaineering, ski mountaineering?
Well, first off, I want to say that the ski touring is such a unknown leisure sport, and I'm so glad that we got a chance to show it here on the show. So if you have a chance, please go check it out for yourself. To answer your question, to compare, downhill skiing, there's a lot more people. So there's a lot less people here. That's one really good thing. The snow is softer, deeper, and the hills are they're quite unpredictable and random. So you add all of these elements together and you have quite a unique skiing experience.
The snow looks a lot fluffier, so even if you fall, you won't hurt yourself so
That's true.
much.
It's powder.
There's a reason why there are no people there. It's so far away. I hike to get there.
And you did mention that the gears that are used for ski mountaineering and alpine ski are quite different, but can we rent the gears there?
Sure. To rent gear, you want to visit the Korean Ski Mountaineering Association. Now, they're trying to promote this sport, so you can rent the skis and the poles and other equipment there. And you can have long-term rentals and short-term rentals as well. And all you got to do is visit their website. Now, to learn ski mountaineering, the technique itself, you can visit the Korean Alpine Federation. They're holding courses from January to February, and you can visit their website to find out more about that. Now, to do this, you've got to be at least an intermediate level skier.
Okay, there's a prerequisite.
Right. But speaking of intermediate levels, I really caught my eye. The ice diving was really interesting looking, and I personally want to try that, but I'm a first-time diver. Is that something that I can try out?
Unfortunately not. It is something that you look at and you think, wow, that would be amazing to try. I wanted to try, but unfortunately, there are some prerequisites. Now, you've got to be at least a level 1 certified scuba diver. Now, even with that, you have to take a 1-week course specifically designed for the ice diving. Yeah, and the only place to do this is in Hongcheon in the Gangwon-do Province. So if you have the skill set, the certification, and the nerves of steel, then by all means you should try it out. You can visit the Hongcheon Diver School and rent equipment and set up a day for you to go under the ice and have some fun, and I definitely recommend it.
That's a high bar right there. You need to have a certificate, you need to have the guts.
And 1-week program, training program.
But did you hear the way they were describing it? Like, it
though.
just sounded so amazing.
I'm sure it's absolutely beautiful down there looking up. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And the bubbles that the man talked about.
Right, that really got me, the bubbles, the descriptions, just you know, a whole nother world. So definitely worth it. You should check it out.
All right. Thank you so much, Joey.
You're very welcome.
Korea Style Week 2015 opened its doors at COEX to show off upcoming trends in style.
As you can see, there are so many trendy items here at the 5th Korea Style Week, from furniture to clothes to accessories. And today we're going to be taking a little bit more of a closer look at this year's trendiest jewelry. So let's take a look.
After its successful reign last year, the trend continues into 2015 with custom-made jewelry adorned with stones, silver, leather, and gold. Then there are also the fashionable comebacks, 1970s style retro designs, and the use of bright colors, as well as soft romantic hues.
We are making a lot using gemstones. Pairing gold and blue together gives off a vintage feel.
I actually really like this layered look because you can take it apart if you want, you can put it back together, and especially since they have a statement little gemstone, it could be whatever color you want, especially if you have your own birthstone.
The layering trend was apparent backstage at the runway too. Models wore different combinations with silver custom jewelry. And as the models glided across the catwalk, they showed off cubic studded pieces with silver. Silver is a great material to use when layering jewelry. It pairs well without being overbearing. To see some reasons why custom jewelry is a big hit, we visited one of the most famous brands that specialize in custom pieces. We saw gold, pearl, all shapes of stones, all set and uniquely designed. Han Ji-min, Lee Da-hae, Song Hae-kyo, its star-studded clientele has made this brand popular with fans both in Korea and abroad.
I see a lot of celebrities on television wearing these pieces, and they looked really pretty. Whenever I see jewelry I like, I can usually find it here, and wearing it makes me feel like a star.
After hours trying to find the perfect piece, a jewelry designer here came up with a faster solution, a custom-made piece which she expertly crafted.
We offer a lot of variety. When you layer out custom-made jewelry, you can combine a unisex design with a more feminine necklace, but really it's up to you. You can style the pieces together any way you want, and that's what's nice about our custom lines.
Custom jewelry that will help you get the layered look that you want. That's a look we'll cover in K-Style today.
So the Korea Style Week 2015 wrapped up last week, and if you haven't had a chance to check out the latest bling blings, don't worry, we got you covered. Panita Bajaj joins us with the latest bling blings. Good morning.
Good morning. And I think the hottest and latest trends that we saw was the layering of the custom jewelry. Now, this was a big hit back in 2014, and I think that's the reason why we kind of see it overlapping this year as well. But I think the little
there's a little difference. The main difference would be custom motifs. There are very detailed thematic themes that we can see here today. For example, one in front of Jinju. Right, it has a very Sahara, like a sandy theme.
This is a very interesting looking necklace with earrings, matching earrings.
Right, and I think the really great part is if you can take a look at this pendant.
Oh, it can also be used as a brooch.
Right, so it's very useful in a lot of different ways. And also, right in front is the very rugged.
Wow, this is almost like the gem, right?
Right,
and in its original state.
Right, they didn't do any unnecessary polishing to keep the natural texture alive, and that's the reason why it's unique. You can see the left is not the same as the right. So each has its own uniqueness. I think if you picked up a stone, it wouldn't be the same as another one you picked up.
One of a kind. This is truly a one of a kind. Wow. And tell us about some of the other necklaces.
Well, another big thing was bigger and bolder. I feel like statement necklaces are also a big thing. And if you can see in front, there's so many bedazzled. There's so... I think that's the reason why our eyes
just went
go
for
I
the
was
most.
keeping my eyes on this.
That actually matches your outfit also, I guess, because if you have a bold necklace, your outfit should be a lot simpler.
I usually go
no-brainer.
for simple outfits and dull-colored outfits. So these kind of bold and bulky, but bling-bling.
Right, and they kind of pop up your outfit.
Yeah, it gives that final touch to your outfit.
Right, because, you know, we all have that LBD, that little black dress that we always have. It's our go-to, but you kind of spice things up with different accessories, whether it be layering stacks and stacks of necklaces or earrings or bracelets or rings. So they're all very unique as well. It has its own little taste. And if we're moving on to bracelets, I feel like this would kind of go with your outfit, Jinju. This is also gold. You can have.
Wow.
This is so pretty.
That
this
is
one
also
of my
a
favorites.
statement piece, huh?
Right.
How do you open this? Okay, I got it.
I love these jewelry that just brings attention to you, and without trying too hard. I guess just the simple outfit coupled with these really flashy and, you know, look at me screaming.
Right.
Ooh, look at that. It's
and
beautiful.
Especially since the trend is all about layering a thin one with this.
Now you can leave it by itself, but you can pick and choose maybe 2 or 3, whichever one you like.
So
they're all unique.
This is gold.
I noticed that this is gold. This is rose gold, and what you're holding in the other hand is silver. Is that doable? Is that okay?
Right, because we have a little unique a theme here. We have a pearl and the silver, and then we have again the gold with the rose gold. So I think you could do same color, different design, or different color and same design. So whichever you want to do, you can mix and match.
Right.
That's another great point, because you can do whatever you want. You don't necessarily have to fit a certain mold, but I think one tip that we can give you is don't do anything too overbearing. Right. Everything in moderation. I think that's the key to everything.
I feel rich
Is this everything in moderation, or is this a
Sure.
little too much?
You can do whatever you want.
Wow, I think it's absolutely beautiful. Well,
Right.
Let's talk about some of the rings here.
Right, this is actually one of my favorite designers. He is growing globally, so I'm really excited for his growth abroad as well. Now, I noticed that a lot of women and men don't really necessarily wear their wedding rings. So it could be because it's outdated or they're bulky, but I think you can update it in a certain way. For example, this is a gorgeous diamond ring that we have here, but we can layer it if you can hold this on for me.
Wow, it's beautiful, right? But it's hard to layer these diamond rings with something simpler. I've never done it myself.
Really? They're quite
simple.
simple. Sure. Usually they leave it at home right here. Okay. As you can see, it's a different brand that I took, but I think that's another good thing too. So you can shop anywhere you want, and you can layer as many rings as you want as well.
You're the first woman to put a ring on my finger.
Yes, I do. But also I think you can put it all in one finger, or if it's too overwhelming for you, you can put it on another finger, or you can put it on a different hand as well. So that's another tip. We have a lot of rhinestones or diamonds or just a wedding band. A lot of people are now doing bands and their diamond ring together. And I think that's really pretty.
Because oftentimes these diamond rings end up gathering dust at somewhere
Sure,
deep inside
right.
your closet. But you can take it out, bring it out, and just layer it with something simple, right? Okay, well,
Vanita, I see something leather over here.
Right, these are for our men. It's our men's line. It's a little bit more bulkier, and I think it's more towards our
Let's bring in the men. Okay. Oh, yes, Shay and Joey, would you like to join us and show us how
fashionable men?
Right. This is a leather bracelet.
I'm not sure if it's my style, but I look like a hip hop artist right now.
You shouldn't have put this on.
I think, that's a bad choice right there. You're making a fashion
I played it
find.
a little bit safer.
But I think Joey looks good in that ring. I think everyone has their own distinct style, that some could look good on one person and not necessarily look good on the other. But I think SJ did really good with layering the bracelets.
Maybe a little bit too much?
I don't think so.
Maybe
If you
not
lost the
all
ring,
at once. Just go, I guess, just easy
One
on
ring.
some of the rings and
I mean,
bracelets.
maybe because of the suit, but if you weren't wearing the suit, I think it would be all right.
You can get some advice from Joy later on. All right, well, that just about does it. Thank you so much, Panita, for that.
you.
All right, that brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
We'll be back at the same time tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.